this computer. Okay, right, here we go. Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining with us. It's great to be able to chat with you today. Thank you for being willing to be part of our conversation as a church as we understand each other's circumstances, make our way through the current unusual times that we find ourselves in. There are all kinds of people connecting with our web stream, some who are reconnecting with us in the church fellowship, some who aren't usually part of the Kilbride church family. But even for those who would always be at church on a Sunday, well, they might not always see you there. So let's start with an easy one, Rebecca. Tell us a little bit about who you are, your connection with Kilbride, and why we might not see you every week.
So I'm Rebecca. I am daughter of Jane and Dave. Jane is one of our elders, I'm sure everyone knows, and Dave sits at the back and does the sound deck, and then I'm big sister to Abigail. I am a midwife, and I left Northern Ireland when I was 19. I went to study in Edinburgh, and I currently work in Manchester. So pre-COVID times, I would try and get home every couple of months. So I'm a bit of a infrequent visitor to, well, member of Kilbride. I do try and keep in touch with people from the church, and my long-term plan is to eventually move back to Northern Ireland. So you might not seeing me forever for a long time, but yeah, and that's why you maybe wouldn't see me so much in the services, but I have been joining in online recently.
Sure. Okay. So midwife in Manchester. I'm sure things have been very different over the last few months for you. Partly personally, being away from family and so on. I'm sure your work environment has been completely different. So tell us a little bit about what that has been like for you. And are there any particular highlights? Maybe feels like an odd word to you, but any particular bright moments within it? Any particular things that have been difficult? Any lowlights? What does this look like for you?
So a lot of it is in maternity life as normal. A lot of parts of the hospital have been able to cancel out and postpone their elective procedures. But as you can imagine, in midwifery, women are having babies, and COVID isn't stopping that, and certainly can't put any things like that off. So part of it has to be just kind of coming into work, and we've got the same workload, but with added PPE. So that's been quite difficult. And at the start, when we were all kind of new to this, it was every day that you came in, it was a different rule. It was one day, this is what you have to wear for these types of patients. Then it was, oh, you have to work with everyone. And then it was really hard to keep up with. You'd literally have one day off and come back and everything was different. So it's kind of plateaued at the minute where we're just basically wearing as much PPE as we can. The supply is very limited, so it can be tricky when you just run out of stock all the time, and you're putting yourself in positions where you think, oh, because we've had quite a few positive ladies come in and we've not had the appropriate PPE, so that's been quite tricky, and you do worry a little bit. That luckily I live with another midwife, but I feel for my colleagues who live with like their husbands and children that they're coming home, potentially bringing it home to them. I've also this year, just before, well, quite a wee bit before COVID all kind of came about, I took on a new development role for a year where I'm like a labour ward sister. It's just for the year. It's the developmental role, which was going really well. But now with obviously the added stress of COVID, it's been very especially because a lot of our staff are no longer clinical at the minute when they've been risk assessed, and they can't, because of different health conditions, aren't deemed safe to be working. So we've lost a lot of our staff with the same amount of patients. So I mean, it's very difficult with a lot of 13-hour shifts. No one will get a break, not even for like 5-10 minutes, and you're wearing so much, you're already very hot in work, and you're wearing all this plastic PPE that you really, really need a break. So I think that's been quite challenging. But the highlights have definitely been, for me, typically being a midwife is an extremely positive job, and seeing that even in a pandemic where horrendous things are happening, there's still new life being brought into the world and really positive outcomes. And it is I feel quite honoured that you get to be there when the new little baby's born and a family are made. When there's a lot of awful things going on, it's kind of reminds you life does go on, even when it feels on pause. And also I feel quite lucky for the social aspect that I do still work full time. I think it must be so hard for people who are working from home and they're not getting as much. I know it's kind of letting off a little bit now, the lockdown, but when we were in full lockdown, I just thought, I don't know how, like, for mental health, people who are just staying at home, working at home, not getting that interaction. I feel quite lucky. Although you're putting yourself at risk, I couldn't live without seeing other people every day. So I feel that's been a real highlight. Low light has definitely been, obviously sometimes in midwifery we do unfortunately have babies that are stillborn, and there's that bereavement side of things has been so difficult because it's already difficult pre-COVID, but now with all the restrictions, trying to help women organise funerals and letting people come and see their babies being so hard because there's so many rules that are way above us that we can't break, even in those you feel like you want to because of the extenuating circumstances. So that's been really hard, and I think because, again, like I said, living with another midwife, if she's at work and we're working opposite shifts, you've had a really hard day and you come home to an empty flat. It is quite tough sometimes when you feel quite emotionally drained and you want someone there just for like a hug or a bit of a chat. And if I come home and I'm home alone, I have struggled a little bit with that. But overall, it's been, just had to get on with it.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like it's been very, very challenging and very different circumstances. Obviously, we've all been struggling a little bit with being disconnected from family and so on over the last while when we've all been in lockdown. And I think as a church, we're all, our web stream has been great in keeping people connected with church. But of course, our heart's desire is to be together as a church fellowship and meeting together. But obviously, those two things about being close with family and being with church family take on a different perspective for you, being across the water in a different country. How has that worked out for you? What has it been like being distant from church family, from your own family? How has that been over the last while for you?
It has. It's been really, really difficult. I mean, I have missed my family incredibly. I think a lot of the times it was not knowing, like, how long is it going to be for? There's no end date, and I think it was the uncertainty of when am I going to get to see them again. FaceTime's amazing. Obviously, you can connect over FaceTime, but just, like that physical, all I want to do is give my mum and dad a big hug. Luckily, Abigail's been across just the other day. She came over for a few days, which was amazing. So pleased with that. And I'm hoping to get home for my birthday in a few weeks. But again...
Is that a subtle hint being dropped? Birthday in a
well,
couple of weeks? Okay. Davey, I hope you've taken note of that.
And I've said to them, look, what do you feel? Because obviously I'm the one I'm with COVID positive patients, and as much as I'm putting the protection there in place, that was what was stopping me. Now that lockdown's eased a little bit, what if I bring it back home? But mum and dad have just said, look, they just want to see me. So I know I'm still a bit torn about if it's the right thing to do, but I've really, really missed seeing my family. I'm a dog, Daisy, and she doesn't understand that we're in lockdown, so I feel like I'm betraying her, and she doesn't want to speak to me on FaceTime, which is the first thing I do when my mom answers FaceTime. Where's the dog? I feel like I wish she could understand human language that could explain to her I'm not abandoned. me. With church, I mean, over in Manchester, I've really struggled to find a church, and so I don't really feel like I have a church family over here. So for me, actually, the services being online, as much as sometimes I work on Sundays when I've been off, I've probably been attending church more virtually than I have anyway over the last few weeks and months, really. So it's not the worst thing in the world for me spiritually, because I have actually been a bit more intentional with FaceTime. Basically what I do is I FaceTime my mum and they set the camera up onto the TV, so we feel like we're watching it together.
That's lovely.
Yeah, so that's been good. That's been good, I suppose.
Okay. Well, look, thinking about people like yourself, you being across the water, say, away from church family and family, thinking a little bit about others maybe who may be living away. I know we have a few others who aren't in Northern Ireland but are still members of the church family. I'm sure you know who some of them are. How best can we pray for people like yourself who are living away from home at this time?
I guess this probably doesn't apply to everyone who lives away, but for me anyway, a lot of my faith was growing up in it and being around my family. I'm a church family, so when I'm away from that, I have really struggled. I feel like I'm very, very distant from God. I don't really feel like I have much of a relationship. I do want one, but for years I feel like I've not. And a lot of it is just simply because I've probably should have made more of an effort to find a church and to, because I think fellowship is just so important. And again, like I say, I'm sure a lot of people who have moved away probably have a bit more of a stronger rooting in Christ, and that is probably not the case for them. But for me, I think prayer would be really important to just kind of find that closeness with God again, and find a church. And it's really difficult when you're by yourself to just, even the thought of walking into a church on a Sunday makes me feel sick, especially when you're so used to, like, being brought up in Kilbride where you were just born into it, like so I think prayer for that. I was actually speaking to I'm very honest to Mum about this, and I've been quite upset about it the past few weeks, and a song keeps playing in my head, As the Deer Pants for the Water. It is constantly like it's an earworm, and I hadn't told Mum that, and she was speaking to me because I was saying, like, I just feel so disconnected. I don't feel like I have any relationship with God. I feel like I'm only a Christian because I was brought up in a Christian family, and that's just it. And she herself said about the song As the Deer Pants for the Water, and how we see it as this like idyllic picture, but actually it's a really desperate picture, a deer panting because he's so dehydrated and he's like at basically the end. That's not a nice image. And she's like, it's not going to be pretty at this point, and it is kind of rock bottom, but only, you have to just kind of do whatever you can to just, I think I get in my head that, right, to be a Christian, I all of a sudden have to be reading my Bible every day, be praying every day, but it's actually just recognizing I'm not close with God. What can I do to change this? Having little steps, and actually speaking to my mum, or I wish I did obviously have more like Christian friends and things. But yeah, so I think definitely for me, prayer would be having that connection with God and having a bit more fellowship with people who are like-minded. Because it's just really important, and I do definitely want it. I just feel like it's
Listen, Rebecca, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me today and to share with us as a church family some of your experiences and what's been going on with you. Do be assured that we as a church family love you, that we will be praying for you, and know we'll be thinking about you. But thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Bye.